Hey everyone, welcome to Otaku Talk. It's me, your boy, your host, OD, and we have an incredible early chapter release to discuss with you guys. I was wondering if, Oda or, Sueisha was going to do this where they normally, around the holidays like this, they either release the chapter early or a little bit later. And so it looks like they released it a little bit later, a little bit after the holidays. So that was awesome. I had no clue this chapter was coming out. I was just chilling, cooling, sleeping, and then I get the notification from TCB scans that it was out. I was super excited, super ecstatic. Immediately read it, put together a little script real quick, and recorded this video. I hope you guys were excited as me for this video release, cause man, was this chapter all the hype. Before I get into it, I wanted to first of all show off a little present I got for one of my Taekwondo students. They know I'm a weeb. They know I'm an otaku, so they got me this Sword Art Online metal frame. So really appreciate this. Wanted to shout them out. Thank you very much, Min Suck, if you're watching this. I really appreciate it. The other thing I'm gonna start doing in all my videos is a little disclaimer. Um, in this video, you will see clips, chapter scans from chapter 1036 of One Piece. These scans I am allowed to use these scans legally via the Copyright Act, fair use, as long as they are for educational, criticism, entertainment purposes. I'm gonna clean that up. I'm gonna have a whole script. But long story short, I just want to get across to YouTube and Suisha. I am allowed to do this shit. So stop fucking with me, please. Anyway, if this is your first time on this channel or you haven't been here before, I would really appreciate it if you could like, share, and subscribe. Would mean the world to me. Please also make sure to subscribe to my Twitter and or my Facebook. It's really important that I start, diversifying to my other platforms in case my channel gets taken down again and I can communicate with you guys and you guys know where to go. Anyway, without much further ado, let's get into this review. All right, everyone. Chapter 1036 of One Piece, Bushido is the way of death. Once again, was not expecting this chapter. Was kind of a late Christmas present and one that I am extraordinarily happy with. I'm super excited for, so let's get into it. I love how this chapter starts off, just like how the last chapter with Sanji versus Queen started off, where we see Queen flying out of Onigashima's skull, looking like he's going to plummet into the ground below. Similar situation with King. Oda is really letting us know, like, nah, these dudes are defeated. Nah, they're out the fight. And, as much as it annoys me that I was wrong, I'm kind of okay with it. I'm living with it. A lot of people are coming for Morge right now. What's his name? Liam. I know his real name and not his actual YouTube. I felt like it was a little bit uncalled for him to make a whole video dedicated to like Mr. Morge and how he's like started a cult about the raid failing. I just think it's no more complicated than he had this theory. The theory wasn't panning out. He did a lot of research on this theory, so he's not going to give up on this theory. And he still has reasons why the theory may be successful. Now, the more and more chapters come out, the less and less likely the theory holds true. But I'll have so much respect for him if he turns out to be true in the first place. And obviously, a little bit is marketing, right? I think a little bit is marketing, blah, blah, blah. But I do believe that there is a part of him that believes that. There's a part of me that believes that. It's one of those things where it's like, it's unlikely, but it's still probable, right? So that's how I feel about the raid failing. And also that's how I feel about what my own personal theory that, all these defeated Toby Rappo and All Stars are going to get back up just because all of this has seemed just a little bit too easy. And it may possibly be because I have been sleeping on the Straw Hat crew. Literally, I'm getting to a point where it's like, you know what? Maybe the Straw Hats collectively, especially the big brass, the monster trio, and then you have Jinbei and, Frankie and the rest of them, maybe they're just a lot stronger than I anticipated. Maybe they're just a lot stronger than I considered, because up until this point it's always, well, all right, so we had moments in the old world, pre Grand Line and all that, where Luffy was pretty much stronger than everyone, right? Then we had our Alabasta arc. We had our arcs after that where, all right, the villains are significantly stronger and Luffy had to struggle, but he got there. And then once we got to the new world, it kind of got back to a point where, okay, Luffy is stronger than everyone, but nowhere near the hard hitters, the top class, right? And the Yonko have been hyped so much, the Topi Rappo have been hyped so much. You know, I'm thinking, these are going to be fights that they barely get by. And, technically that's not wrong. They barely got by these fights, but they were always these kind of one shots. However, that's not true. They were never really one shots. Like, we have been getting chapter after chapter after channel of Oda trying to tell like 6 different stories at once. And I think we get a little bit lost in the sauce because of that. Because I'm trying to be reasonable here, because you have to realize, uh, King and Queen were fighting the likes of Marco, and that weakened them. And then Zoro was fighting the likes of Kaido on the rooftop with the rest of them, and that took it out of him. I feel like Sanji was doing his Sanji was getting jacked up by Black Maria. Like, people forget about that, but he was getting like beat on for free, wasn't fighting back or anything. So that did a lot of damage to him. So there's just been a lot of stuff like going on, and I think it's distracted from the fact of just how much both the Straw Hats and the Beast Pirates have been through, like, cumulatively, right? So it's just really been kind of hard to mediate, like, just compartment. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but you guys get my point. That there's a lot more than meets the eye with these fights, and we need to start at this point factoring things in. I'm still a little bit upset, still a little bit perturbed about the fact that the recovery of the Zoan type users has been hyped up for so long, and that the recovery of ancient and mythical Zoan fruit users is put above that. Also, we had just a handful of chapters ago, awakenings, and so in my head I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna get the awakenings of the rest of the Topi Rappo, the All Stars and stuff. These are the people that I would love to see awaken, and it just kind of seems like we're not gonna get that. Like, they're down and out. Like, you have King, like, right now, this dude's whole freaking wing and his sword are cut in half. I just simply do not see how he recovers from that. And there's clips from the Impel Down arc where Crocodile's talking about how you know awakened Zoans, if they're given enough time, will recover. So maybe, like, I don't know, part of me is holding out for that, just because it seems like I refuse to ever believe, and maybe this makes me a fanatic, but I just refuse to ever believe that Oda would forget something of that significance, right? And but it's kind of feeling like that. It's not, but like, I truly, I like, don't come for me. I'm not saying he is, but like, I'm saying, like, I'm faltering at this moment. Am I still having a good time? Of course. Am I still enjoying everything he's giving me? Of course. This is just one of those matters where, like, something I wanted to happen or I predicted isn't happening, and it's causing me some tension. It doesn't mean it's bad necessarily. It's just, I really wish he went along this route and he didn't. And I just really want to touch on something right now. It is my personal belief, and yes, it is a shonen, but it is my personal belief that things like One Piece are not meant to be read week by week. Before I started this channel, before I started doing weekly reviews, I would literally ignore One Piece for weeks, if not months. And it used to kill me, but it was necessary because I hated, I loathe, I abhor waiting for each chapter and just getting a little bit of a taste of the greater story, because in the greater scheme of things, each chapter is like super small. It's not until you get the combined cumulative work of everything that it all comes together. And I want to do a video about, like, how it's not just about binge reading One Piece, because I think the greatest joy of One Piece isn't going to come from the end. I don't think the end is what's going to make One Piece, like, amazing. I think what's going to make One Piece amazing is when you go back to the beginning, reread the entire thing, knowing everything we know, and you actually start to see the brilliance of Oda. You actually get to see how everything was set up, how everything came to fruition, like from this new perspective of knowledge. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let me get into the chapter review. Thank you for bearing with me. So I love how the chapter starts off. Zoro pretty much finishing off King, finishing off any descent that King is not defeated, that King will get back. Honestly, I feel like it was unnecessary. I feel like King was down and out. Zoro said, fuck that. I'm going to double tap. Bow, bow. Jumps out, slashes my man, knocks him the out. He is down. He is out. He is not getting up anytime soon. I'm with the movement now. I'm a believer. These guys are down and out. We are moving towards the finish line. I'm a believer now. All right. You got me. There's a little part of me that's still holding on, but for the most part, you got me. At this part, I would be like senile to deny what's happening before my eyes. Right. And we get some really really nice flashbacks. We get King having a flashback where he what's it called, where Kaido is basically like, you think I'm Joy Boy, which makes me think King is from an ancient race. Before his race was wiped out, we don't know if his race was wiped out, but that's kind of what we're assuming. Actually, we do know. They called him the last Lunarian, right? So it's assumed that his race was wiped out. It would make sense for King being part of that race and being a kid at the time, because he was rather young when Kaido met him. To be told those stories when he was growing up, to be told about Joy Boy, to be told that he's going to come back if Joy Boy was a Lunarian or part of that race, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised if everything that Kaido knows about Joy Boy, he potentially learned from King, right? Also, the more and more flashbacks we get with, King and Kaido, the more parallels and connection I feel with Luffy and Zoro. And it kind of makes me scared though, because we see how, like, I don't want to say Kaido was a good person, but his intentions weren't the worst, right? And we can, maybe there might come a time where Luffy is tried, because we know that Luffy is not a good person. I even had a debate with a friend of mine about this, who considers Luffy to be a villain, and I said that's going a little bit too far. I personally feel like Luffy, at worst, is an anti-hero. There is no part of my body where I will ever say that Luffy is a villain. But he is very hedonistic. He does act, very selfishly. And when I say selfishly, even when it's to help others, it's because he wants to help others. It's because they've done something for him. He's made some kind of attachment. It's rarely out of goodwill. And also there's conditions to it. You have to be able to, like, you have to want to, fight for yourself, because Luffy doesn't like take on your own battles. He only assists in them, right? He only does the part that you cannot do. You have to, put in the effort, right? So, you know, I've always thought there's been so many parallels between Luffy and the rest of the other Yonko. Like, for example, how Big Mom was willing to wage war over losing her candy. Like, I feel like if someone were to like take all of Luffy's meat or something like that, like he would get like angry like that too. I think his crew and other people would stop him from doing something he'd regret, but like that anger, that attitude is still right. It's still there, right? So, technically, just like how Luffy freed Zoro, you know, Kaido freed King, and maybe freed other members of his crew. But the main difference is, Kaido, in my opinion, freed one person, and to be honest, he may like King. He may, have said, "I'm never going to betray you," but that doesn't really mean much in terms of like the rest of what he's done. Luffy, on the other hand, has tried to save numerous people numerous times, right? And I think there's this misconception of, Joy Boy and the Pirate King being the strongest. Like, it's kind of like a symptom, but not a diagnosis, right? And I think that's kind of what's happening here with Joy Boy and being the Pirate King. Being strongest is just, an attribute, an accolade of that, but it's not the thing that makes you Joy Boy. It's not the thing that makes you the Pirate King. It's something necessary, because I believe, just like I swear Luffy has said this before, being the strongest means that he has the most freedom because he can control what happens. Being the strongest means he can protect his friends. Being the strongest means he can bring freedom to those that don't have it. And so, it's basically, with great power comes great responsibility. That's what it means to be the strongest, to be able to use that strength to bring about change for the better in the world, not just for oneself or just one's close circle of friends, but everyone. Or at least that's what the hell I think, right? Anyway, we still have CP0. We still have one member of CP0 in the indestructible reception room. I think it's crazy that he's willing to stay there. I know that these guys are tough and like they're here for a mission, but the fact that like the whole of the castle is just burning around them, and he has to know that from the information network provided for him, and he's just choosing to stay in there is a little bit crazy for me. He does not give a damn about this fire. And ironically, he's the closest to the potential nukes in the basement because I remember Oda released like, some maps and whatnot. And literally he is like right there. Like the reception room is like only a couple like a couple floors up from the basement. So it's kind of crazy. I'm also wondering why the Marys keep relaying to him these super potentially harmful bits of information to the CP0. Like, I'm assuming like Queen is responsible partially for the creation of these like Marys, and maybe he's not as like loyal to Kaido as we would think. We do know that he probably did work for the world government at one point. If this story is anything like King's, and King rescued him, maybe Queen took maybe Kaido took Queen as well as one of the scientists. Maybe part of the reason King and Queen don't like each other because Queen is one of the fucking assholes that experimented on King. So who fucking knows? But yeah, they keeps giving him all this information, and my only like assumption is that Kaido was just kind of full of himself. He's being defeated by his hubris at this moment, and he figured that he was going to be able to wrap this up in a nice little bow. And he was like, "Yeah, give him whatever information they need. This is going to be a showcase of my power, just to remind them not to fuck with me." And now that they're getting this like flux of information, this is what's going to lead them to eventually probably turning on Kaido, turning on Big Mom. And so I really am excited to see how this plays out. The CP0 are rightfully shocked, but acknowledge at the end of the day that it means they are rightfully shocked, by the way, that the Tobirapo and the All Stars are defeated. But they admit at the end of the day it doesn't really matter as long as Kaido and Big Mom are standing. They are behemoths. They are king of kings. Unless Luffy and Law and Kid can put them down, what does it mean in the end? I honestly am at a place where I do not know what is going to happen with anyone at the end of this arc. Is Big Mom going to be defeated here? Is she going to move on to Elbaf? Personally, I've been saying this forever. I really want her to move on to Elbaf because there is still that unresolved story arc of eating Lady Mother Caramel and all the kids. Part of me like has always believed maybe she didn't, but that's stupid because how would she have gotten Lady Caramel's powers? So she had to have eaten her. There's that one giant on Elbaf that knows what happened. She needs to be confronted. I think this whole thing with Big Mom and her amnesia is attached to that. To protect themselves from trauma, kids just block things out. Kids just block things out. It's a thing that happens. Murphy, another phenomenal YouTuber, was talking about this as well. And so I just really want this for Big Mom. Do I still think she's a bad person? Hell yeah. Kaido's a bad person. I was talking, like I said, I was talking to my friend. He believes more so than me, but even Luffy's a bad person. Most of these people that call themselves pirates aren't the best people. So I would like a redemption arc. I would like her to confront the things she has done, even if it does mean she has to die in the end. I want there to become a closed circuit in these storylines, in these story plots, right? So anyway, after that, I'm not gonna lie, I don't feel like we needed the several panels reminding us of the events unfolding. I felt like it was unnecessary. I felt like it was really, really just unneeded re-exposition of things that we knew were going on. We know that the island is gonna crash into into the flower capital. We know that there are bombs in the basement. We know that Momo is trying to hold it up. I just felt like this almost page of panels was wasted. I don't know. I'm not trying to be rude or anything. It just I really felt like Oda has been reminding us continuously for multiple chapters now. So to have almost a whole page of just, hey, this is what's happening, and it's like, yeah, we know. So I don't know. Maybe it's just the weekly shonen medium thing. Maybe he just didn't want to draw like I don't know. But I personally feel like the recap was unnecessary and really took away from more important scenes, more important aspects. Like for example, I want to know where like Nami and Otama currently are, or where like Marco went, which I will touch on in a little bit. But anyway, I digress. Yamato is still making her way to the basement, and we run into the sixth and the last unknown number, Roki, whose job seems to be to guard the armory. And unfortunately for him, Yamato doesn't have the time to either explain what's going on or fight him for the key. So she has Fuga just kill two birds with one stone. And for whatever reason, Fuga is just, obedient. We can go with the theory that he is a former samurai, but at the end of the day, we truly don't know until Oda reveals that. And so she decides to kill two birds with one stone, or in this case, two birds with one horn, and has Fuga freaking ram the ever living hell out of Roki. And can I just say, I am a little bit, just a wee bit. I feel really, really bad. I can't even front. I feel really, really bad for Rogi because can you imagine you're just there, you're just somewhere chilling, sleeping, minding your own goddamn business, and someone like Ray Lewis just comes and trucks you. That I don't really watch football. That's the last greatest person I know. But like, think of the scariest person in football or some just like crazy sport. Mike Tyson, just someone just run, bow, and just cracks you and you're not prepared, you're not ready, you just get hit. Sorry about that, guys. I'm lucky. Honestly, I'm lucky to get half an hour before my camera cuts out, and then like I don't know, I might have another 10 minutes before it cuts out again. I need a new camera, long and short, but don't have money for that. So let's keep going. But I apologize. I'm gonna try to get through the rest of my little like cliff notes of what I want to talk about before it cuts off again. So yeah, I feel super bad for Roki. Anyway, we switch back and it's Usopp protecting Kinemon and Kiku. And I really love this scene because, Usopp is doing his literal best to save them. And he has an opportunity to be like classic Usopp, right? Kinemon basically says, leave me, protect Kiku. Kiku's like, leave me, save Kinemon. And Usopp's like, bet, I'll leave you both and dip. And then he like snaps to his senses. He's like, no, that's not who I am anymore. That's not what I do. Also, stop being so okay with throwing your life away. What's the whole point of fighting for freedom? Fighting for the freedom of yourselves and your people if you don't get to witness that freedom. Now, I know this kind of goes counterintuitive to like what every like war movie is about, like fighting, sacrificing yourself for others. But like Usopp is like rebelling against that. And I really, really appreciate that. Also, I think it's also Oda's like not homage, but like nod to the fans that are always kind of giving him shit about not like killing characters. And you know what? I do agree. Sorry, I totally forgot I didn't have my mic unmuted. But I totally agree with the fact that, I totally agree with the fact that he needs to stop blue balling us in terms of, oh no, like ramping up this emotion, really getting us prepped for this person to die and then not doing that. That does get annoying, but I am okay. First of all, it's a shonen, and I know that's a lukewarm excuse, but it is a shonen. Like death isn't gonna be rampant in it, and there's many shonen that do have death, so like there's that. But I remember an interview or an SBS where Oda addressed it, and he was like, "What's more important in One Piece isn't like killing people; it's dreams. Like dreams is like the biggest, like one of the top 10, themes in all of One Piece. And with your will and basic with your will in defeating an opponent, you're basically saying your will to succeed, your will to bring your dream to fruition is greater than theirs, and you're destroying their dream. Destruction of dreams is the ultimate death, right? And how death isn't even death in One Piece. Like being forgotten is dying. And so like Oda has spent a lot of time setting up that death in One Piece isn't just death. And so for people to just die is low key meaningless to him because it serves no real tangible purpose unless it's like something like Ace or Whitebeard where it like progresses the story. He's not gonna just kill people just because he feels like that's the thing to do, just because it'll make people happy, just because it'll give like quote unquote artificial stakes. No, he's gonna say those for truly, truly important, impactful moments. And personally, I'm okay with that to a degree, as long as he's not abusing it. And I honestly, I'm not bad. There was the Pell situation, but we can get over it, right? So what was I saying? Oh yeah, Usopp yells at them and he's like, "What is up with you samurai just willing to sacrifice your lives because of honor and commit seppuku? I don't understand it." And I love this moment because one, he wants to be a great warrior of the sea. And in my opinion, being a great warrior of the sea also means putting your life on the line. Just like with Dory and Bragi, how they were willing to fight and kill each other. They were willing to do that. And I'm surprised that Usopp doesn't know that. And that's why I'm curious about when he's going to have his character moment where he puts his life on the line to save someone. Actually, the irony is in this moment, he's technically putting his life on the line because he had no intention of abandoning them and he was being gained on by all of these beast pirates, right? So he kind of was putting his life on the line for these guys while saying that, which honestly, very impressive. We're seeing Usopp grow before our eyes because the old Usopp might have left, might have tried to get help, but he stood his damn ground, which was just enough time for Easy to show up and shoot everyone around them in their vicinity. Which brings me to a very important point. Usopp needs to develop some kind of rapid fire technique. He does have some great AoE in terms of like his bombs, but this was just a great example of him needing to have better rapid fire and his kabuto, his slingshot not really being a handy weapon here. Now one could argue Usopp is more of a sniper than a gunman, but as he is the only straw hat gunman, I do think he needs to change that. He needs to have like a seed that fires multiple shots or something because this is a clear weakness. um I really love how Izo calls him God Usopp and how Usopp swoons about it and how Usopp is super stoked that like this dude knows about him. That's actually super super cool. So yeah, I was just as like happy for and with Usopp in that moment that like someone as important and as high up as Izo knows about him, and Izo is like a marksman in his own right. So that was super cool. Also, this might be offensive. I apologize. This isn't meant to be a joke, but you guys know how Izo is a trans man. He was biologically female, but identifies as a man, and Kiku is the opposite. So that moment where Izo drops his shirt, I'm just wondering, are there titties out front? Once again, not saying this to offend anyone or be rude. I really hope no one takes this the wrong way. This is just like how I feel we normalize these conversations. We just treat it like anything in life, and I'm just being friendly with it. But I'm very curious if like, because this is One Piece, and while they do have really good medicine at times, they're also kind of like backwards in some regards. So I'm wondering if like low key Izo is just flashing everyone right now, or if it's gonna be like that Black Maria scenario that I hated, where she did the same thing and showed her woman rules tattoo on her back, and there was not a single bandage, and then later on the next chapter, all of a sudden her tits are covered in bandage. I was like, that seems sus. That wasn't there before. But yeah, that was just something I found to be very interesting. I'm just very curious if Izo was post op or pre op. No reason about it, no judgment, just very curious. Um, then we have Raizo versus Fukuro Kujo. By the way, I love saying this man's name, Fukuro Kujo, Fukuro Kujo, Fukuro Kujo. I just love the way it comes out the mouth. And they are in a standstill right now. Apparently, they have both used the paralysis jutsu on each other. And unfortunately, it's kind of like, that Shikamaru fight where they both use where Shikamaru used the shadow thing, but the Tamari was closer to the wall. So when he would move backwards, she hit her head and he didn't. But it's kind of the opposite here because Raizo is currently on fire. But I love this moment because he's like, fire like this can't make me sweat, because this is just a very clear throwback to the fact that Odin boiled for his retainers. He held, what were they, the nine scabbards? Nine of his scabbards over his head while boiling in hot oil. So I feel like Raizo's like, if I give up right now because of some bullshit fire, I am a bitch. I have let Odin down. I do not deserve anything. And so I respect and admire what he's doing right now. Because honestly, that has to be what that character is going through in his head right now. Um, I'm kind of sad about what's happening with Orochi and Hiyori. This is kind of boring to me. It seems like her plan is to lull him into like this like hypnotic state where he's half asleep, half wondering, am I dreaming? Am I dead? Or whatever. I'm with, my favorite Oiran or whatever, my favorite Geisha. I think she's an Oiran. I forget which one, Kumurasaki. And because we know that he was madly in love with her, and it seems like her plans to take him down in the smoke that he's created, in the fire that he's created. I'm like, that's cool, that's a creative way, but I was hoping that, like, she learned something from Odin, that she studied swords, she learned something from the Kappa scabbard whose name Kawamatsu Kawamatsu. But like, I mean, if this is how it goes out, that's how it goes out. But that's so weak to me, and I think it's kind of obvious it's not going to work. Because why would Oda keep him alive for so long just to have him go out like this? So meh. We finally have some power scaling confirmation on CP0 as the tall one easily dispatches of Zonky, and the one that looks like the field leader. Like, I don't think he's in charge. I think Rob Lucci is in charge of the whole thing, which is kind of weird because he was leader of CP9 and failed. But this one that looks like he's the field leader, like the leader while they're out here, he fought and dispatched of Drake. Now, unlike the tall one who's rather unscathed, he looks like he went through a bit of a hard battle to fight Drake. But at the end of the day, he won. So that does some power scaling. Right now, it looks like Jinbei may be the only one who can deal with the likes of him if he's able to take out Drake. Maybe I'm sleeping on Robin a little bit, but she just did have a major fight, so I don't think she has the energy to fight someone that powerful. We still don't know how strong Brook is in the grand scheme of things. We know he's a great fodder killer, but we haven't really seen him take on like major players. So yeah, like we now officially, it's confirmed that the CP0 ain't nothing to fuck with. There's some really tough opponents. So I'm very curious to see how this stacks up and if Drake is actually down and out for the fight. Maybe he's like my other theory of the other Zoans, and he may come back up and fighting too. We'll see. But I want to make it very clear that the CP0 member that took out Drake didn't just like do it easily. Like, no, he struggled. Like, he's bleeding, he's leaking, his mask is cracked. Like, it was a bit of a fight. So he's not that much more powerful than Drake. It took him some effort. Anyway, despite hearing the news of the All Stars and the Topi Rapo, the CP0 are still sleeping on them. They're saying that they have a 1 in a million chance of winning, which once again, it's kind of understandable. When you've seen the power that is Big Mom and Kaido, it is kind of hard to, fault them, kind of hard to believe anyone could ever beat them. So I could see why, but I'm very curious what happens the moment that the Straw Hat Crew do defeat them. The moment that Law and Kid possibly do defeat Big Mom, how CP0's plans change. Now we get to the last and final part of this chapter, Luffy versus Kaido. And I love how the precursor to this is saying like humans can only like go so far, like they can only push themselves so hard, and they have not met Luffy. Also, is this some kind of Oda foreshadowing that Luffy isn't human? But anyway, let's say Luffy is human, but we see his tenacity, his drive. His first two attacks don't work on Kaido. The first time he tries to Gummo Gummo, Kaido hits him. Does another Gummo Gummo attack. Kaido blocks it with his club, right? And then he uses his third attack finally lands, and it's a rock gun. Which, by the way, I was gonna say red rock, but apparently this is a completely different attack. I think one of the things that makes it obviously a different attack is it's not on fire like red rock. So I'm very curious about that. So we have the first, the debut of a new move, which is just, Red Rock minus the fire, which I'm thinking is maybe just like a hockey imbued your third attack, right? So I just like how this whole part is just an analogy for how he doesn't give up. He failed the first attack, failed the second attack, but he landed the third. And you're seeing that they've been fighting this entire time. Kaido is leaking. He's battered. He's scarred up. He's hurt. So, like, this is definitely a fight that I'm looking forward to. I was thinking that, just because we've had like Queen get defeated, King get defeated, this would be the chapter where Kaido got defeated. Kind of happy it wasn't, hoping that we get at least like 2 chapters of that, but I doubt that. There's just too much going on in the story. But it's good to see that Kaido is getting wore out, and Luffy is loving this fight, and Kaido is loving this fight. He hasn't had a fight like this in quite some time, and if Luffy does finally show us the move that he was trying to do before that Kaido stopped him, and he is able to utilize that move to defeat Kaido, it's not going to be unbelievable that Kaido was defeated, because once again Kaido had to fight all 6 of those dudes on the roof. He's been fighting, then he had to fight Yamato. Now he's been fighting Luffy this entire time. This dude is tired. He hasn't had a break. Also, he was tanking shots from Luffy, which I'm positive had to have done some damage, and he's been posturing this entire time. So honestly, phenomenal chapter. I think this review went on a little too long, and I had the technical difficulties, but I was able to get everything I wanted to talk about out the way. I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap. Normally, I do a bunch of questions and stuff like that, but I'm scared my camera's gonna turn off again, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. This has been Otaku Talk. I'm your host, OD. Once again, thank you so much, each and every person that watches these reviews and interacts with me in the comments. It means so much to me. Hope you guys had a happy Merry Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate, and I hope you have a happy New Year. This has been Otaku Talk. I'm your host, OD. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Would mean the world to me. Also join my Facebook and Twitter. And yeah, take care. Have a great rest of your winter break. Peace.